Hi, everyone. Welcome to Joseph's Fireside Chat series. I'm Tom Dreyfus, CEO and co-founder of Josef, and I am thrilled to be joined today by Andrew Medlicott and Sara Rayment from Inkling Legal Design and Inked. Welcome, Andrew and Sara. It's great to speak to you.
Thanks, Tom. It's great to be here. Great to chat.
Nice to see you both. Let's kick things off with a very easy one. Sara, can you introduce yourself to our audience, just a little bit about you and a little bit about Inkling?
Thanks, Tom. I'm Sara Rayment, and I'm the founder of Inkling Legal Design. I'm a lawyer, been a lawyer for longer than I care to admit, but I've mostly practiced in corporate and cross-border litigation, international arbitration, and I decided that the legal design movement was a really interesting take on the practice of law, and decided to found Inkling Legal Design almost 7 years ago now. And we are a legal practice and design practice in one, where we really explore the way that people understand and use legal information and services. Our goal is to make them easier for people and generally better, more positive experiences. So we'll get into that more in a moment.
We will. Sara, while you've got the microphone, and I know you probably get this question all the time, but our audience doesn't necessarily know, what is legal design? In like one sentence.
It's a great question. So legal design is both an academic movement, an area of research, and a method of practice. What we do is we take all of the tools and philosophies of design, so where people work on designing products and services, experiences and information, and we use them with legal knowledge and insight to improve the way that we communicate or provide a service. So for us, we do a lot of contract reviews and T's and C's reviews. In those, we're generally making the information easier, simpler, so there's a lot of plain language. But quite often legal design is misinterpreted as just a plain language movement. It's a lot broader than that. It is a global movement, and it'll involve things like, how do we make information easier for people who are cognitively diverse, for them to understand it? How do we make information easier to find when you have a 100-page contract? How are we going to help people navigate that so that they don't have to read every single page in order to use that in an everyday operational setting?
Got it. I love that way of thinking about legal design. It aligns so closely with, the reason we started Josef way back when, to make legal services more accessible. I've loved following the work that you've done at Inkling since about that time. We started kind of brainstorming things, bouncing ideas around almost from the very beginning of both our organizations.
We did.
And it's a pleasure. Andrew, over to you. A little bit about you, and if you can focus on the inked side of the equation and what those two sides really are. Like, how does Inkling speak to Inked and vice versa?
It's a really good question, Tom. So my name is Andrew. I'm one of the co-founders along with Sara of Inked. My background, much like Sara, I've been a lawyer for longer than I care to admit, but not as long as Sara, which is, probably a slight sore point between us. But look, I spent a lot of my career in private practice, both at the big end of town and in a smaller boutique practice that I ran, but also a good portion of my career as an in-house lawyer. So I was Deputy General Counsel at Amasim, the telecommunications company, for 5 years. And really at its core, what Inked is becoming, or what we set out to build, at least what I set out to build, and really what my core focus for Inked was if I was an in-house lawyer today, what would I want from a law firm? And what that means is Inked is really a tech-led law firm. It's built with in-house lawyers in mind so that they have solutions that help them actually empower their clients to get through their workflow. But importantly, it's really the convergence of tech and law together. I think Sara and I share the view that the days where an in-house lawyer or even a law firm can say we just do the law or we just do the tech, those days are I think increasingly they're behind us, and working with organizations like Josef has been just incredible for us in terms of how we, as non-developers, so neither Sara nor I are developers, can bring solutions to the market and to in-house teams in particular that do just that. We're in the one platform. We have the convergence of legal expertise and technical skills and solutions. It's been fantastic.
What I mean, that honestly, Andrew, that makes perfect sense, and I love to hear that you're solving a problem that you experienced yourself. I feel like those tend to be the best solutions because they're not just, solutions in search of a problem. You're actually connecting it to an experience that you've had. But I mean, every market feels like a crowded market at the moment, but tech-led law firm, right? I've heard 10 law firms out there, at least, call themselves tech-led law firms. What is the gap here that Inked is targeting? Like, what is it about you guys
I can tackle that one.
So
we bring the design. So Andrew's right, we're a tech and AI-led firm, but actually what we're really looking at is how do we solve the broad legal problems that in-house teams have? And we saw this all the time in Inkling. When we're doing consultations, we're doing design thinking, we're mapping, we're looking at workflows and not only simplifying documents, how do we simplify processes? We're trying to get that at scale. In-house teams had difficulty finding firms that could support them because most firms will bring you into their workflow and their process. They're not creating a workflow and a process using design around the client. And that's where the key point of difference is. We bring the design.
I'd also add to that, Sara. I think one of the challenges that I always had as an in-house lawyer was that when I worked with a law firm that claimed that they were leveraging technology to deliver efficiency, for example, I didn't really see that. So the question that I always had in my mind as an in-house lawyer was, is that really just a margin optimization play for the law firm? Rather
than improve it,
Exactly. I can improve my efficiency, but if I'm charging that as a fixed fee, all of a sudden, is that just a margin play for the firm? Because my bills certainly weren't coming down. What we want to do with Inked is make sure that, firstly, the clients actually see the technology, so they're accessing the technology. It's not just something that's sitting behind the lawyers, and that they benefit from those efficiency gains and cost savings. That's what Inked is really about. We're not a traditional law firm that uses tech to make our processes more efficient. We want to directly share those efficiencies with the clients and have really transparent pricing models about how we actually do that so that the client benefits.
Can I dig a little deeper then into that idea that your clients are going to be the ones actually using the technology? At Josef, for a fair while now, this idea of self-service digital tools has driven the design and the development of our products. When we think about what we're building for the idea that clients are going to be the ones using our tools. We love when lawyers create those operational efficiencies, but the thing that really gets us out of bed is when we hear from our customers, who are law firms or corporate legal teams, that their users, their clients, their business users are loving the tools they've built on Josef. I want to talk about that. Why is that important to you? How have you leveraged Josef to make that possible, to make that a reality? Either one of you, whoever wants to jump in.
I'm happy to take that one. The core solution that Inked is offering at the moment, and this is really just the tip of the iceberg, because what we want to do is to look at lots of legal processes where there is potentially an inefficiency or a better way of doing it and improve it. But our core solution at the moment is really designed to take the friction out of contracting. So, and to your earlier point, how do Inkling and Inked sit together? Well, when people talk about contract automation, my biggest concern usually is that they jump straight to the automation and they forget about the contract. And that's the difference with Inked working together with Inkling, is we take the view that you need to start with a really good, simple, user-friendly contract that has been through a plain English. Either it's a new contract that is drafted in plain English, and has gone through an information design process, or we've revisited an existing contract. But we need to start with the contract, because if you scale a bad contract that's not easy to understand, not easy to navigate, and feels unfair, then it doesn't matter how well you can automate that contract. You're just going to have problems at scale. And so what we've built with INKD, and we're most excited about, and we've launched recently with one of our clients, is a process that takes the friction out of contracting. So we've taken a long and complicated contract for the procurement of goods and or services. We've simplified that. And then what we've built is a solution that empowers the commercial users within the organization, so not just the legal team or the procurement team, to actually prepare the first draft of the document on a solution that is fundamentally built on the Josef platform, and then automate through Josef's integrations, having that document sent out via DocuSign in a branded experience, so it looks and feels like our client is sending it out. And then the counterparty can actually, if they want to request some changes to what is already a fundamentally simple, fair, and easy to understand document, they can use AI to do that. And they can have a very simple conversation through a chat-based interface, effectively with the doc, and say, hey, I would like, for example, to increase the liability cap, or I need some more protection about privacy. And what we then do is we take language that our client has pre-approved. So it's not just generative AI, it's pre-approved language. And I know Sam, your co-founder, is very keen to dispel the myth that RAG is dead. RAG is not dead, and RAG is very important to our solution. But what it will allow that counterparty to do is to request changes. And if they're in line with our client's risk appetite, the contract is automatically updated and sent out to the client. So we're really taking out human intervention wherever we can. And I think that's really important, because when we speak to both lawyers and commercial teams and sales teams in particular, the consistent feedback that we get is the number one frustration with contract negotiation is negotiating the same points over and over again. We know what they are. Let's fix the underlying document. Let's create a really simple way for people to be able to update the contract to reflect those requests for changes, and then really reserve our legal team or the in-house team for those tricky issues, those edge cases, the points that really need some unique thinking to be able to solve a particular problem. And so what that's doing is it's empowering the commercial teams within the clients to really drive the contracting process, bringing in the legal team, whether it's in-house or on our side, for the tricky stuff.
Got it. I mean, it sounds like a lot of work to make something that was really hard just that much easier. And I feel like it's so interesting hearing you talk through it, right? Because from the builder's perspective, because you're the one creating these tools, there are lots of steps, and some of them are complex, and there's lots of trial and error when you're pulling these things together. But having seen what your tool looks like in operation, the end user experience feels simple and seamless. And I think that's kind of the magic of what I've observed in the way that Inkling and Ink work together, is that you're able to take both legally and kind of conceptually complex processes and turn them into something that for end users is a really simple experience. And now I'm gonna pump up your tires here. I know, because everyone should know, that Inkling and a project we've been working on was recently shortlisted as a finalist in this year's Financial Times Most Innovative Lawyer Awards. I want to know a little bit more about that. I want you to tell the world why you were deserving and the impact that those tools are having. Sarah,
yeah, I can start to tackle that. So Andrew's touched on it a little bit with his explanation just now, but ultimately the reason we can get to this point where we have something that is quite seamless and simple, even though we've got complexity built in it, not only document assembly, but we've got governance and sign-offs and a whole lot of other things that feel very seamless, is because we're using that design approach. So we're not only designing for our client, the important thing here is we're designing for the end user as well. And in this case, that's often a counterpart. We have these different layers of users who we have to consider, who we spend time with, and who we design it around to get that outcome. And then it's not set and forget. We have feedback loops, we collect data so that we can better understand how to improve it over time, and so that we can give clients deeper insights about how are they contracting? Where are the contracts coming from? Who's using the system? What kind of things are being negotiated? What are the time frames? That we can really understand and have more insight into the process as a whole. And that kind of service design combined with information design is incredibly powerful and means that we do see the results. Andrew, do you want to add more to the Grampians case study?
Yeah, so without giving too much away, the solution that I was describing was for one of our first clients that we're really proud to work with, Grampians Health, and it's quite humbling to see Grampian Health's name listed amongst some really big, large global companies on the Financial Times Innovative Lawyers website as a potential finalist. And we're really proud of the work that we've done working with Grampians to actually solve that problem. It's funny because when Sara and I set out to build Inked, we'd assumed that we'd be working mostly with people trying to sell things rather than to buy things. And actually what we've realized is that for a lot of organizations, procurement is a real challenge as well. And so maybe not reinventing that process, but actually breaking it down and putting yourselves in the shoes, just to Sara's point around actually designing for the counterparties, we had to put ourselves in the shoes of the vendors. So we had to put ourselves in the shoes of somebody that was supplying goods or services to a government organization. What would they care about? What would they not care about? Would they be open to a solution like this? And really empathize with what's important to those providers. And actually, for a lot of them, speed and expediency is really important. So actually, for both sides, both the buyer of the service and the person providing it, being able to get the contract signed quickly, move on, so that, we're often dealing with things like medication. So, patients are actually, if the contracting process is slow, then that might mean that a patient doesn't get the medicine that they need when they need it. So it's been a really fascinating project working with government on a project that involves not just automation, but even AI to really speed up that procurement process. And it's a really novel way of thinking about contract negotiation. There's a lot of companies at the moment that are doing a great job of AI assisted red line reviews. We think that's a great piece of technology, and we use those solutions in our business. But we think that for high volume contracting, there's an even better way, and we think that the solution that we've built, that we're working with our client Grampians on, that they've been nominated as a finalist for, is the solution to that problem for true high volume contracting.
I'd love to hear it. Okay. I only have a couple more questions. Sara, I'm going to throw this one to you. I wish that every one of our customers had the depth and breadth of experience and knowledge that you bring to automation projects, and none of them does. How do you think people without your background can get started? How do people get started? Some of this feels big and overwhelming and it's so noisy, and they want to do something, but they don't know what it is. What's the best piece of advice you can give to people who just want to get started?
Just do it. Just start doing it. And I think the hardest thing for lawyers is learning by mistake. So we are expected to be perfect all the time, to get things right all the time. And in fact, what you want to do is create something, and in a very controlled, low impact environment, get some feedback on that so that you know what you're designing is a good fit for the problem space. And then spend a bit of time learning about those methods. For me, we've worked with Josef for a long time, actually, because it is a really easy tool to use. We used to take it out of the box and provide it to people who've never built anything on technology before, and in a 1 hour session have them have built a chatbot by the end of it. Because it is so quick and so versatile, I could walk into any room and suddenly get people using technology straight away. So I definitely think starting with something that is so intuitive will give you confidence. It'll also give you results. Because the flip side of it is you can spend a lot of time dabbling. But if you can't produce results, it's very hard to justify the time and the budget within the team. And we see a lot of in-house teams struggle with that, with the skills gap. How do I skill up to do it? And then how do I produce something that will deliver results? And then into the third phase, how do I maintain this thing that I built? And again, that's one of the reasons we've decided to offer that as a service within Inked, because that is a lot in addition to your day job to be able to offer. But where we see the best results is where teams have started on this journey. They have started to make things. They have started to explore. But it's definitely a very different process to law. Design is a whole different skill set. So I would also advise go easy on yourself. You are learning effectively a different skill set and job that is so different to law, completely different mindsets. It is going to be a challenge. We do find that people either love it or hate it. Most love it, fortunately, because as lawyers, we don't get many opportunities to be creative. And this can be, for many people, something that brings balance to their work life.
I like those words of wisdom, Sara, a combination of just do it and be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like if we could all take that approach to our work, we would be better for it. I'm going to round us out with a question that hopefully gives our audience some energy to take into their day. And I'll throw this to both of you, what excites you the most right now about the future of technology and AI in the delivery of legal services? What's the one thing that you're really laser focused on at the moment?
I'm happy to start. The one thing that really excites me is that for some time now, clients have been told AI within law firms is going to deliver great value for you. It's going to bring your bills down. And every report that I read suggests that just hasn't happened. And in fact, the efficiency gains have been offset by material increases to hourly rates. And I think those days are numbered for the right type of work, and we want to be at the forefront of that. So we really think that AI, if the benefits are passed on to the client, and if you work with your client on exactly what their use case is and exactly what their problem is, can really save not just money, in terms of your I don't want to think of it, probably not your P&L for the legal business, because there isn't really a profit for the legal department. But if you think about what AI can do for a legal department, is it can really empower a commercial team to get their contract signed. And if you're working with a sales team, for example, it will get their contract signed quicker, and with less fuss. And so even though you as an in-house lawyer, you never really think about the fact that you're responsible for the revenue side, my experience is that lawyers who think differently, who think about the design of their solution, how simple their contracts are, actually can really make a big difference on the revenue side of a business. And so I think AI is going to empower lawyers to stop being the bottlenecks and start to be the drivers of growth within their companies.
I love that idea. I mean, I think that driving growth is something that more lawyers should aspire to. Couldn't agree more with that one. Sara, last word for you.
Last word for me. I mean, it goes back to why I founded Inkling. So I went to the UN. I saw very early versions of AI in 2015, and I knew that it would fundamentally change the way that we practice law, for better and for worse. But for me, the driver was always two things: better quality of life for lawyers. We are inherently a responsive species of professional, this would give us the power to become more active and manage legal risk in a completely different way. And my hope would be that we don't see so many problems in the legal industry in the way that we manage or mismanage capacity. And the really big driver for me is access to justice. We have designed a system of law that is designed to prevent people from accessing it through complexity and expense. And we can't really justify that anymore. We now have the systems and the processes to no longer worry about floodgates and to allow people to have access to basic rights that they should have. And understanding the system in which you are forced to live and the language of law, that should be a human right.
I can't think of a better note on which to end this conversation, Sara. Thank you, to Andrew, for all of the work that you've been doing with Josef over the years. And congratulations on Inked and the impact that it's already having on the market. I'm excited to see where you take it next. Thanks again. This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Tom. And thank you to the team. Josef, I'd just love to end by saying that one of the key reasons that we've been able to get our solution live to market is just the support that we've had from the Josef team has been above and beyond. So I just want to express our gratitude to you for that. It has made all the difference. So thank you and appreciate the invitation for the chat.
So glad to hear it. All right. Bye, guys.
Thanks again. Thanks, Tom.